Hi, I'm Bruce Horak. You might recognize me as Hemmer from Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and if you don't worry. I'm not currently under 3.5 hours of prosthetics. I was the first blind actor to play a blind character in the Star Trek franchise. It was a monumental moment, not just for me, but for representation as a whole. My story starts a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Sorry, wrong franchise. I was a baby when I was diagnosed with bilateral retinoblastoma, which is cancer of the eyes, and it left me with just 9% vision, kind of like looking down on a murky straw. But I didn't let this stop me. There were a lot of people who said it probably wouldn't amount to much, but thankfully I didn't listen to their direction. Instead, I let creativity be my compass. And I discovered that having a different lens through which to see the world is really valuable. And so through creativity, like acting or music or most recently painting, I've been able to share how I see the world. Boldly Going is a documentary that follows me on my journey as I meet fellow creatives, people who have overcome adversity and still found a way to shine. And we'll sit together and we'll talk and we'll get to know their stories. And while we do that, I paint their portrait. Telling these really valuable stories can be a bit of a financial challenge. And so anything that you can offer to help, $2,500, every penny of it is going to go to make this documentary into a reality. Please help us tell these stories that matter. Let's paint a new vision of what resilience truly is. And let's boldly go together.
You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Hey, what do you say we put some more Star Trek on the air and then we'll all get together and talk about it? What's it been, 4, 5, 6 months already? Well, there are some strange new worlds right around the corner, and that can mean only one thing. It's 7 Pacific, it's Monday night, we're here, and you're right there with us. It's Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion. And I am joined by Heather Ray Barker.
Hi, guys. Sorry about that. I'm Heather A. Barker, and we are getting ready for the return of Strange New Worlds with Season 3 in just a few short weeks. In the meantime, we're going to bring you some special guests, like the person you'll be meeting tonight, and we'll even go back to Season 2.
That's right. More on that later. But now you know what to do. You click on the Zoom meeting link to join the conversation. That'll put you in the Earl Green room. And from there, you'll be chatting with us and our guest, Bruce Horak, live tonight. And while you're clicking on things, make sure you click like and subscribe on this very video. There's much more coming from Roddenberry on this YouTube channel, so you'll want to stay in touch.
Speaking of staying in touch, the chat is open, and now we'll get to say hello to all of you. John, who all is in the chat? Because my chat froze up.
Oh no, okay, so many people. Well, there's Charlie Carden, there's Plain Simple Brian, otherwise known as BC, there's Brandon, there's Paul Wright, there's Jim, there's Alan, there's David. I'm hoping that we get multiple Pauls tonight, maybe. There's Jessica Lynn Verdi. I even see Heather Ray. I see you in the chat and here. There's Mark, there's a second Paul. Wait, I think we have a third Paul. I think we have a Paul Fecta tonight. Very exciting for us and for our guest, I am sure. And let's see, everybody is saying hi back to all of you. There's Foz. I don't even know Foz. Good to see you, Foz. There's Mike, our very own Captain Mike Richards. So things are hopping in the chat. Good to see everybody there. And we do have a few updates to share before we bring in our special guest, Bruce Horak. First of all, we want to remind everybody what's happening in the rest of Roddenberry podcasts. Now, Mission Log is on a little bit of a break between season 6 and 7 of Voyager, but we won't be sitting idly by. Oh, no. Last week, we dropped a fun Season 6 recap with Trek Culture host Ellie Littlechild. And today we went behind the scenes with Lolita Fajo. She was a post-production coordinator and a script supervisor. She wore many hats. She knows where the bodies are buried. Great conversation. That just dropped this morning. And on Thursday, we will drop Unimatrix Zero Part 2 as we enter our Season 7 recaps and discussion.
Genealogy released a true rarity today, the pilot script for The Joan Crawford Show, written by Gene in 1961. And if you're new here, Genealogy covers all of Gene's earliest works, looking for the threads that connect all the way up to his best-known creation, Star Trek.
And Heather, you can tell us what is on the latest episode of Trektivism.
Our most recent episode also features tonight's Mission Log Live guest, Mr. Bruce Horak.
He's everywhere.
And we had, he's everywhere. He's all over the place. He might have been on the Trek Files recently.
Maybe.
And so we had a wonderful discussion about his history in theater. We spent a lot of time focused on his work as an artist and his approach to humanism through his art and the lens of his disability. He literally hands his subjects his glasses and has them view their portrait through his eyes. Matthew just returned from Trek Long Island, where he co-hosted a Trektivism panel alongside the fabulous John Billingsley. So we'll probably release that audio in the coming months, as well as our panel from Trek Talks 4.
Look, everybody's got a Billingsley story, so I look forward to hearing yours. And I look forward to chatting more with Bruce tonight in just a few minutes. But finally, the Trek Files. Of course, we did have Bruce on recently, and that is such a fun, insightful episode. But this week, and actually a carryover from last week, we did part 1 of Larry Nemechek's interview with Ronald D. Moore. Yes, the amazing Ronald D. Moore, discussing the 1976 spoken word album Inside Star Trek. It is rad. And don't miss part 2, which drops tomorrow, because that's when things get weird. They just do, and I can't wait for all of you to hear that.
All of those and more are available wherever you download your favorite podcast, and you can see the whole lineup as well at podcasts.roddenberry.com. But the conversation continues.
Oh, wait. The conversation does continue, and I swear we're not putting things off because we got all these callers lined up to talk to our guest, Bruce, but we have to tell you something very important first. That's right, if the never-ending hellscape of social media has worn you down, you can take refuge in a place full of thoughtful, fun, and often hilarious chat. That is the Mission Log Discord. It's private, it's curated, and most importantly, it is populated by the cool people that you want to chat with. The topics range from travel to food to technology, but of course, the main focus is on the wide world of fandom. There's something there for everyone with 24/7 chat, plus near daily live shows covering Trek, Battlestar Galactica, the Twilight Zone, conventions and meetups, and even international chat, and there is so much more.
The Mission Log Discord is an exclusive perk for our Patreon community, and you can join us for as little as $1 a month. The perks don't stop here, though. You can get access to unedited shows, exclusive merch, and early access. Our Patreon keeps growing, and it supports the shows you love. Join us there at patreon.com/missionlog, and remember, that's your key to our private Discord.
That link again, patreon.com/missionlog. That is where the conversation continues and where this community welcomes you. So we will see you there. And by the way, Jessica taught us something very cool before we went on the air tonight. If you are in the chat right now and you hit !Patreon, then that will give you the link to our Patreon. And if you hit !commands, you will see all the commands that you can do in our chat. And coming up a little later, we have a giveaway, so you can hit !giveaway, and that'll take you there before I even tell you what it is. So yes, you learned something, I learned something, we all learned something together. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you for yelling at everyone in the in the Roddenberry handle in our chat right now. We really do appreciate that. All right, without further ado, because he has been waiting so patiently, so many time zones ahead, And he has joined us on so many podcasts to talk about his work, his upcoming documentary. He is one cool person who we have gotten
Oh
to
my
know, and I
God.
look forward to getting to know him better tonight. It is Bruce Horak. You know him as Hemmer from Strange New Worlds. Bruce, welcome to Mission Log Live. And
Thank you.
you're wearing a Trek themed T-shirt. Would you like to tell us what this is? You
I'm
big
gonna be
nerd.
honest with you. It's my day off today, and it's laundry day. And this is my favorite shirt to wear, my go-to shirt on laundry day. It's Star Trek Strange New World Season 1, and it's from the stunt department.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I had a day on Season 1 that was a bit of a scene that was cut, but they put me in a harness and flew me to the like 2 stories in the air. And for doing a day on stunts, the team gave me one of their fabulous stunt shirts. So I wear it with great pride because it was both terrifying and exhilarating to fly that high.
Wait a minute. I feel like we're going to jump ahead here, but you
Oh,
brought it up. It's your fault. You're one of these actors who does your own stunts? Is that what I'm hearing now?
I have a background in
Yeah,
stage fighting. I've done quite a bit of fight and dance and movement and choreography. So given the opportunity to do it, and if it can be done safely, then I'm all in. I was very excited to do that. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is so cool, and also sounds a bit terrifying too. Yeah,
Sure, yeah, but you got to go where the fear is. That's where the fun is. Way out, way out.
fear is where the fun is. That should be on the next T-shirt. So I like that.
That's right.
Heather, you looked like you were about to say
Hi.
something. I apologize.
No, I am having some technical
Oh
difficulties on
no.
my end, so
Oh
I'm
Okay.
trying to
no.
figure that out.
All right. Well, you feel
Well,
free
your
to just
background
yell at
looks
us.
great. Your background
Yes.
looks great.
Yeah. You just give us a yell anytime you want to throw something in. We're here for you. Don't worry about it. Bruce, I want to go back. Everybody here obviously knows your work on Strange New Worlds as Hemmer, our dear departed Hemmer, who we
Oh,
love. Yeah, he was all. But
too
and we'll
soon.
get we'll get to that too because I think there are a lot of mixed feelings. Actually, Rod was
Mm.
in a Discord chat this afternoon, and we were talking about characters who get killed off in Star Trek and then
Yeah.
come back,
Mhm.
and whether or not that negatively impacts the drama. I think that is certainly a debatable point.
Sure.
But before we even get into that, you mentioned live theater, and we just
Yes.
touched on that a little bit in Larry's show and
Mm.
the Trek Files.
Yeah.
And I want to hear a little bit more because you said something really fascinating, which is that you went into theater
Yeah.
and you had essentially learned how to pass as a fully sighted person
Yeah.
by learning your blocking and
Mhm.
juggling and all these little tricks. I mean,
Mhm.
first of all, what inspired you to do that? And second of all, what sort of impact? Obviously, the people around you working with you, they probably knew differently, or maybe not.
Yeah, it really depended on the situation, but to answer your question of why would I do that, whatever inspired me to do that. So growing up with a disability was a challenge for sure, and I think like all kids, I really wanted to fit in my community, and I went to an integrated school, so everyone that I went to school with was fully sighted, or for the most part. I mean, some of them had to get glasses, and there was lots of drama around that. But I arrived at school with Coke bottle thick
Mhm.
bifocal glasses. Like there really was no hiding it. And I went through elementary and junior high school with assisted devices, heavy glasses, a little telescope and things. And then in grade 10, I got a contact lens.
Mm.
And so suddenly I didn't have to wear the glasses anymore. And I could go to school and I would just disappear into high school, kind of into the crowd. And I figured out how to just kind of coast through the hallways and through the classrooms. And I would still use my assistive devices, but now I could hide at the back of the room and use my telescope and kind of disguise it as best I could. And it was just a way to kind of fit in with my peers. Um, and I had a preconception about getting a white cane. and really coming out that way because I thought it was really going to limit me to job opportunities and also walking down the street with a white cane, 15, 16-year-old kid. I thought I'm just going to get beat up. Like I'll get mugged. I'll be a perfect target. So again, it was out of necessity to appear to be fully sighted in order to fit in with the pack and kind of, run in the middle of the herd as opposed to on the outside, if I can use that
Mhm.
animalistic analogy there. But yeah, and then as it fed into theater, like I'd already been doing a certain amount of pretending anyway, and so it was just another step into taking on another character. It's, putting on accents and walks and learning to, do all the little stage tricks that we do in order to pass as other characters, and it just seemed a really natural meshing, getting into stage work. And I was a class clown. I loved doing voices and accents, and I had an ear for that stuff. I fell in love with, George Carlin at a really young age. I could recite the whole Class Clown album, and I could recite Spinal Tap, the whole movie
Nice.
from start to
Nice.
finish. And yeah, there's just like that world of play and character and taking on other roles. It just seemed really natural. Um, Now I've forgotten the second part of the question, which was
Oh no,
uh,
no. I'm just curious about that experience. So
mm.
doing theater, learning blocking, learning tricks, as you say. Um, were you able to keep up this ruse? And how successful was that for you? I mean, because it sounds like theater is
Yeah.
kind of a safe space to experiment with that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I work with a lot of fellow creatives who are just up to play and improvise and, look at my disability not so much as a challenge as an opportunity to try something new, and to figure out ways of working and whether or not I incorporate it into the story that I'm telling. For instance, I have a solo show called Assassinating Thompson, where I paint a portrait of the entire audience while I explain how I see and
yeah,
give them an actual visual representation of, okay, here's how that guy sees. But I also tell the story of Tom Thompson, who is a Canadian painter who died mysteriously in 1917, and kind of weave his story into my life story and go on that journey. But that's very much I'm presenting Bruce Horak doing this story, and then there's other opportunities where I can just disappear into a character, and people after the show would have no idea. When I played the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, for instance, I don't think anyone in that audience, unless they were related to me or knew me personally, like would have come to see that show and go, "Oh yeah, that guy was blind."
amazing.
Because I would just learn I mean, I work very hard to learn the choreography.
Yeah,
um, and I mean, that's the beautiful thing about theater is that you spend hour after hour after hour rehearsing so that you can repeat the performance night after night, you know?
yeah,
So what goes up on stage might look on the spur of the moment or improvised, but it's really quite carefully choreographed. And then to take a real risk in theater, I like to get up and improvise as well. So that means flying with no safety net, no rehearsal. And in
right.
which case, I work with people that I know and trust. And full disclosure, I can say I can't see that, or I need, this
Uh,
adaptation here, there, or whatever. Um, well, I just want to give a plug to the Shaw Festival right now, which
yeah,
is where
please,
where
please.
I'm working. I'm a part of the ensemble this summer, and I'm doing a show called Wait Until Dark, which is opening very soon. I think it's at the end of the month. Oh, yeah, we're on stage now, and I just really want to give a shout out to the crew and the designers of this show because for the first time in my career, and I've been doing stage work for 30 years, I got up on stage and they have embedded something into the front of the stage. It's a little blue LED that runs along the rim of the front of the set. Much of the show takes place in like total darkness. It's the first time I've worked on a stage where it's like I know exactly where the front of that stage is at all times, and
Wow.
it's curled over so you can't see
Uh-huh.
it from the audience. It's
Oh, that's
amazing,
brilliant.
brilliant adaptation, and I think wow, every theater across the world should just have that embedded because yeah, it just makes perfect sense. It's
That's
another
so cool.
example of, I think, when you design for accessibility, everyone
Mhm.
benefits.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And by the way, are
Yeah,
you
so
still
go Shaw.
doing, go, and are
Go
you
Shaw.
still doing assassinating?
Assassinating Thompson.
Yes.
It's currently on hiatus because
Okay.
I'm working for the Shaw Festival. But yes,
Sure.
it's very much in my back pocket at all times. I even did a
Excellent.
performance over Zoom recently, so
Oh,
it's
fantastic.
it's still around. Yeah.
Well, Heather is fully back, fully connected.
I'm
Yes.
back. I'm okay. Sorry
Yeah.
about
Hi,
that.
Heather.
Right
I'm
on.
so
Yay.
sorry.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, there must be chaos on my first night back. It's just my life.
Of course.
Well, hey,
But
look,
it's,
we would. Oh, I say we would start welcoming in some of our
Oh,
callers
yes.
because
yeah.
we got John, then we got Alan, then we got Cosmo, Mark, and Brandon. So,
I've
John,
never done one
Arminio,
of these before. This is
yeah,
great. This is
Yay!
John,
great.
say hello to our fabulous new friend Bruce Horak.
Hi, wonderful to meet you.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here with us. It's
Oh,
great to be
pleasure.
talking with you.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, I was just introduced to your Boldly Go project by the trailer
Oh, yeah.
that was played before the show, and what you said about you know representing um someone who's blind, being a blind actor on Star Trek really speaks to like why I've continued to love Star Trek, since I was
Mm,
a kid, and um that sort of history of representation and giving voice to people who have been underrepresented in television and media before then. And so I'm really glad that you can continue to speak to that. But I was wondering, um, were you cognizant of that, like when you were cast, when you were filming the show, or has that sort of legacy sort of like come to you in the years since you were on the show?
great question. Thank you for that. Um, was it John?
Yes.
Hi. It's nice to meet you. When I was cast, I was told that the character would be a fan. They were writing it to be a fan favorite, so they really wanted to go for the heartstrings with it. And all I knew was that he was an Enar and that he was blind and that he had kind of extrasensory perception. Um, the fact that the casting call went out and they were looking specifically for a blind actor to play the role meant a lot to me. I've been trying to break into film and television in Toronto since 2001. And in my time as an actor, trying to do that, the number of times it would specifically ask for a visually impaired actor were like zero. It was happening so rarely. And then something shifted in the culture, and I started to see that on the breakdown when the casting breakdown goes out to agents, and they actually were specifically asking. Something happened in the zeitgeist, and I just happened to land this Star Trek thing. It really blew my mind, and I didn't quite realize the impact it was going to have on the community, the Star Trek fandom, but also the greater disability arts community, the disability action networks around the world. I mean, this was it felt like a real triumph in a lot of ways, and I was seeing my name referenced in and specifically the character and the representation, the factor of representation being referenced in books and articles and things. I was like, wow, this is a much bigger deal. uh, I'm deeply honored, actually. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's again why I love Star Trek, and these characters can mean so much to the fan community, and that legacy builds and builds and builds, and I think someone like Spock is just as much or more important to the community than um he was in the 60s, and I think Hemmer is in that legacy, and I think that's due so much to your performance. So I just want to thank you
Thank
for that.
you. Well, I
It's
appreciate you saying that.
perfect. It's amazing. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that.
Nice. John, any other thoughts before we go to our next
Yeah.
caller?
I know we have a lot of great great questions coming up, so I'll say good night.
Excellent. Thanks. Always a
Thanks,
pleasure to
John.
see you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
man.
Thank
Bye,
you.
All
John.
right. Bye bye. All right. By the way, there are some fantastic comments happening in the chat right
Oh,
now. Heather, do
Mhm.
you do you want to do the
Um,
honors or shall I?
so No, I love these because they are our own friends, Shar and Ashley. So Ashley said I could listen to Bruce talk all day. Uh,
Oh, thanks,
and then
Ashley.
and then Shar said Bruce's voice is so soothing. Please, Bruce, do guided meditation or something
Okay.
relaxing. So
Okay.
there's another job for you yet.
Oh, great. Audio. I did
Oh,
record an audio book this last year.
oh,
Oh,
that's new.
Yeah. Adina Mignona, she's a sci-fi writer, and she
Yeah.
wrote a book called Lunar Logic, which I did the
That's
audiobook of.
That is right.
Hmm.
I know Adina, and now I remember about that. I need to
That's
go get that
right.
then. Okay,
It's
everybody, now you
it
know what to
was
do.
15 hours of me sitting in my closet talking into a microphone.
clearly you
It was a
should
lot of
work
fun.
here then, because that's that's kind of how we do this.
That's how we
So,
do it. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
The modern
Uh,
days.
yeah. Let's go over to our next caller. Alan, welcome from the Bridge of the Enterprise, of course.
Alan.
Why would we not be on the bridge of the Enterprise on a
Yes,
Monday night
that's
Yes.
on Mission
right.
Log Live as it was always meant to be?
Yeah.
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 Bruce, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Thank
Alan.
you. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And listening to what you were saying with John, if the character was pitched to be a fan favorite, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great,
For
I,
sure.
great.
there's something to be said for, leave them wanting more, and I think we all, would love to have gotten more Hemmer, but man, the stuff that we got was so impactful. So
Mm,
thank you so much.
no, absolute pleasure. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I was I was curious. Specifically, one of the things that struck me about having Hemmer on the show is that he seemed to be very in tune to not just the ship, but the other characters and the relationships that he was able to build, even for being there for such a short time. And did I was curious about specifically about the relationship with Uhura,
Mm,
who has become such, you know, such a hallmark, element of the show. In season two, Pike calls her the voice of the Enterprise, and I think that's really true in a lot of ways. And,
yeah,
I was wondering if that was something that was also part of that initial, pitch to actors about this role is that, you know, could you speak to that relationship and what your expectations might have been and how you feel it played out?
sure. Yeah, the relationship with Uhura was laid out really clearly from the start when I was offered the part of Hemmer, and they said, here's essentially what his function will be in the story, which is to break down some of Uhura's resistance to
Hmm.
Starfleet and to help her make connections and start to build bonds with people, which I think was quite successful. And I think that's why his loss is felt because he was that first tie for her. And yeah, I was greatly moved by the episode in season two where she kind of tied the bow on that relationship and he got to
Mm.
have that final moment. I was quite chuffed that they added that in. There's certainly no obligation to, but that they did that, I think it showed a great sensitivity to the development of Uhura as a character. One of my favorites. I mean, I can't think of the original series cast and think of a weak link in there. I love them all for different reasons. Um, and I think where we see her in the original series, uh, and where she starts in Strange New Worlds, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a really interesting journey to get there. And there's lots of avenues and different ways that they can go with it. And Celia is so perfectly cast. She's just
Mm.
a luminescent, bright light that walks into the room, and you just go, "Oh, this is going to be okay." And there's Yeah, she's very easy to listen to. She's got a great voice, the voice of the Enterprise.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Nicely said. All right, Alan, any other thoughts before we go to our next caller?
No, just that again, I'm you know, thank you, Bruce, for your contribution to the franchise.
My pleasure.
And with a new season of Strange New Worlds on the horizon, just looking forward to a lot of fun Monday nights with everybody. So we'll see you next time.
You betcha. Thanks, Alan.
Yep.
Take care.
Catch
All
you
right.
later.
You
Take
betcha.
Bye.
care, Alan. And yeah, before we go to our break, I definitely want to bring in our next caller, Cosmo. Hope things are
Cosmo.
well with you, my friend. And Cosmo, tell us what's going on, my friend.
Hello. Hi, Bruce.
Hey.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Cosmo.
I'm also legally blind. Hearing you recount your stories about
Ah,
school, I had very similar experiences. I have bilateral optic nerve atrophy. So,
okay.
um, 20 over 400 is my acuity. And we always had Geordie, but having a visually impaired actor playing a blind character was so neat.
Mm,
And add you up on the list with Jadzia Dax as upsetting and unnecessary
ah.
deaths. But you made such a impact in the short time you were there, and it was a
No,
super memorable character. And
thank you.
was sad to see you go. And this is an assistive technology. It's called eSight, and electronic glasses that zoom up to 24 times. And with
No
it, I can see
way.
20/20.
No way.
Yeah. And I really credit Star Trek to making me feel more comfortable to wear this out in public, because it's such shorthand to just say, I'm like Geordie. And that's it. That everybody understands that.
That's all you
And
need.
yeah.
Wow.
And this is the fifth generation of them. The previous one was a lot bigger and bulkier and looked like a crown. This is more of a sunglasses aesthetic. And
Oh,
it's just your contributions and LeVar and Star Trek being so inclusive has given me the confidence to wear something like this. And
that's amazing. Wow. I have to run out and get one.
eSight it's called. And
Insight.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Do
uh,
they also like a sunglass as well? Like they tint?
no, it's not see through. It's got a camera here and it feeds it into screens.
Oh, no
Um,
way.
but
Okay.
a lot of the other ones out there are VR style, where it goes all
Uh-huh.
the way up to your cheekbone, and these have lots of naked eye vision, so I can be mobile and I can walk
Uh-huh.
around. And they're really rugged too. I can just fold them up and put them in my pocket. This is the battery, hangs around my neck. And
Amazing.
I was wearing the first one when I met John at the cantina, I think in 2019. John, does that sound right?
That's right. Yeah, we did the live show at Scum and Villainy back in 2019, I believe, 2018 maybe. Yeah, 2019, I think. Yeah.
Common villainy.
Are you there? Oh, all right. So, Bruce, if you find your way to Los Angeles,
I've heard of this place. Oh no.
okay.
I was there. I was in LA 2 months ago, and it was literally like on my way out of town when it's like, oh, you got to check out the Scum and Villainy. I'm like, no, I missed it. Anyway, I'll be
Well, it's
back. I'll
still
be
there.
back.
All right, let us know. It's still there, and you got to check it out for sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Ships flying by in the night here.
Right. Right. So yeah, Cosmo, that I haven't actually seen that one on you until now. That one is a lot smaller and looks a
Mhm.
little more nimble. Yeah.
And
Very
better
cool.
better designed. The controls are a lot easier.
Mm,
I love it. It's got image stabilization, which is a big deal. The old ones, you zoom into 24 times, your head
yeah.
movement makes it shake.
Mm.
And it's the leisure activities where I get my biggest bang for my buck. Like getting to see my kid's face while he goes around on the merry-go-round. Could never see that with my naked eyes.
Yeah.
And getting us low vision folk, we miss out on so much facial
Oh yeah.
social cues and stuff. And so
Definitely.
getting to that's increased my confidence a lot.
Mm,
And you mentioned the cane.
yeah.
I forever postponed getting a cane because I'm pretty high functioning. I got one during COVID just as an excuse to be like, stay away from me. And
Yeah, yeah.
but now that I'm in my 40s, I've realized it is nice for getting downstairs that don't necessarily have the yellow
Hmm.
strip on the edge, or
Hmm.
a curb, or a bad sidewalk. So,
Yeah,
because low vision people, it's a disability that isn't obvious. Everybody
that's right.
expects blind people to be Stevie Wonder,
Hmm.
and we run into throughout my young adulthood. I'd try public transportation in LA, which is atrocious, and I'd say, "Hey,
Hmm.
I'm legally blind. Can you tell me when my stop is?" And people were always so unwilling to help because I didn't look
Blind.
disabled.
Yeah,
And so this thing has really helped me with independence,
great.
and so just wanted to say thank you. It's so cool to meet you.
That's really nice to meet you. I'm very inspired by this. I've been thinking about basically how do I put the magnification capability of my iPhone on my face, and this is exactly it.
If you want to
Jesus, it's
talk to
that.
John,
Yeah,
John can put you in touch with me, and
Yeah.
I can give you more info.
fantastic. It was nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. And James, he's
Yeah.
10 now. Can you believe it, John? He's
Oh
Hey,
been
my
James.
God.
flying starships
Yeah.
behind me
And I would say
every call.
Outstanding.
dutifully flying the Enterprise behind you. I love that.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Excellent.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Yeah, you
Cosmo,
too,
take
man.
care.
Take care.
Bye bye.
All right, so lined up tonight, we have, of course, so much more to come with Bruce, and we have calls from Mark, Brandon, and Nani, Dr. Nani, to all of you coming up. But before we get to that, Heather, is there something behind me that I maybe had
Yeah,
not?
you need
there-
to watch out.
Oh,
It's looking at you, and
okay.
I only have this tiny bat left to help you, so be careful.
All right. Well, yes, the thing behind me that many people have commented about in the chat, it is incredibly cool, and I'm so glad that we get to show this to you. Peering over my shoulder is the Borg Queen skull. Signature edition prop replica from our friends at Factory Entertainment. And they're giving away one of these, in fact, this very one, for free to a lucky winner in our giveaway. Now, I can't point out everything to you. You can see it behind me there with the flash. Oh, wait, just hang on. The light went off. There we go. Okay, light's back on. The signature down on the base is by Alice Krieg. This is an amazing piece. It is resin cast. It is made from a sample original from First Contact in the CBS archive. It lights up very clearly. And it is a shockingly cool prop, and we get to give one away because Factory Entertainment have sent us this to do exactly that. Heather, you mentioned Factory Entertainment. You have a Factory Entertainment prop right there. You want to show it off again?
I do. It's very small. You can't see my actual batleth because it's covered and stuff behind there.
Right.
Not actual size.
Okay.
And I
Fair.
called it a letter opener. It's just a little like mini prop replica. It does come with a beautiful little stand.
Oh, look at that.
So
Ha-
so if you want to have a little mini fight on your desk with your action figures, it's good for
Yes.
that.
Good plan. Good plan.
It is for me a much more a good price point. I got this at STLV because Factory Entertainment is there pretty much every year. So if you're going, I believe they will be there. But I will say I am extremely jealous of all y'all who get to enter to win the Borg Queen, because that is probably the most amazing thing I have ever seen Mission Log give away. I love Star Trek wines. There's a bottle somewhere behind me.
Right, right.
They're wonderful, and thank you, Star Trek wines. But holy wow, Borg Queen, amazing. There's some other things that we're giving away though.
There are. Yeah.
So two runners up will get the hand phaser bottle openers, styled either as the TOS Phaser 1 or the TNG Phaser 1. Both stylish and functional, just like any good piece of Starfleet kit should be.
That's right. Now,
but-
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, those are all great things that you can get for, entering, but there's a lot of really cool stuff just on the Factory Entertainment website that you can also go buy. like the Star Trek Wrathcon necklace, which is pretty
Oh, yeah.
darn cool.
That
Like,
is
wow.
absolutely cool. By the way, have you opened actual letters with your batleth?
Uh,
Because I think you should.
well, okay.
I mean, you don't have to do
I
it right
don't
this
often,
second.
I don't
Yeah.
get a lot of mail.
Yeah.
So if any of my mission log friends out there want to send me some mail,
Well, there we go. Send Heather some mail, and then she could open it
then
with the
I'll have
batleth,
some
and we'll
things
capture
to,
that on video. And yeah,
yeah,
that'll be great.
I just play with it at my desk, to be
Okay.
honest.
Alan in the chat says that's a bitleth. It's so small,
It's a
and
bit.
I like that. I like that. It's, you can always rely on Alan for puns like that.
Thank you,
Um,
Alan.
Well, if let's turn her back on. There we go. No jokes, please. If you would like to have your very own Borg Queen Skull Signature Edition prop replica, or the chance to win either the TOS or TNG hand phaser bottle openers, all you need to do, check out the show notes for tonight's show, whether it is on YouTube or in the podcast. It will go out later. We are also posting that in the chat right now. To enter is free. It is absolutely free, and there are multiple ways to enter. So you click on the thing, you follow the thing, you potentially win the thing, or things, because there are multiple. Borg Queen Skull or hand phaser bottle openers. Everything from Factory Entertainment is awesome. If you see them at San Diego Comic-Con or STLV or wherever they might be, go up and say hi, tell them Mission Log sent you. Everything in their catalog is amazing. And remember, if it's working tonight, I'm not sure, but if you hit ! giveaway, that will bring up the information for you. And Shar already calling me out. I have 15 jokes lined up, but I will refrain. That is so good of you, Shar. Thank you. This once. Thank you for refraining. I'm sure I'll present you with many more opportunities for jokes. But let's get back to the show. Again, don't forget, click on the thing. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you follow the link to enter, and good luck to everybody. But on with our callers and calling. Oh, another Canadian calling in to the show. It's Mark to say hello.
Mark.
Canadians are some of my favorite people.
Hello, yes, from the west coast of Canada, Vancouver
Yeah.
Island. That's where I am calling in from today. Just hold on, John. There's something behind you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hang on. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Sorry,
Thank
just
you.
had to,
Thank you for that.
Use
Yes.
my Nerf phaser Type 3 rifle there. I have to have my own prop. Yes, I am from Canada, and I didn't really have a question per se. I wanted to come on and say really thank you to you, Bruce, and modern Star Trek for continuing to evolve the portrayal of people with disabilities in the future. I'm actually on the autism spectrum myself, and I have a nonverbal learning disability, and I've turned what I consider my superpower of autism into something of where today I'm an urban/community planner that specializes on neurodiverse planning. And so I think about how to design our spaces for people with autism, dyslexia, and a host of other disabilities and how they can do better. And I deal with many sensory issues, including sound, light, and a host of others. Certain food textures can cause me issues. So Hammer's character was really neat because he had that extra sensory, he had those extra abilities that his extra sensors gave. And that really spoke to me because I live those superpowers every day. And I think, and for me, being Star Trek is the future I want to build as an urban planner, designing our cities where people with uh, both the visible and invisible disabilities have the chance to be able to be out there and use their spaces safely. Because quite often we only think of the buildings, but there's also the spaces in between the places for buses, bus shelters, and a host of other things that my planning brain won't get into because you'll have me here for way too long, and I don't want to do that. But it's really special for me because I'm sure Bruce may have heard of the Rick Hansen Foundation. I've had an opportunity to take their certificate course and get certified to understand how to design buildings for a host of
Mm.
physical disabilities as well that I work with along with live my neurodiverse. And I think Star Trek is so great for being able to show that positive future of where the character is not defined by their disability. They have it, but thanks to the technology and other things, they're able to work and be productive members of society. And for me, I graduated with my master's in community planning, looking at dyslexia and autism a couple of years ago. And I'm just waiting to actually, I'm a couple of days away from the vote to have my candidate status for the planning profession to start to become a registered professional planner in Canada. And I hope to continue to, you know, shape our spaces for better, just like many of in our present, just like your character in the future and Jordy and elsewhere did, and that's just how I wanted to finish. So thank you for doing such a great character and being part of a franchise that uh, uh, I don't always necessarily. I didn't like how they killed off your character because there's a thing in Hollywood of where you kill your
Mhm.
disabled, which I don't
Mhm.
like. But it's an opportunity to show that even if you can't see that we have a physical one, us ones that have ones that are a little harder to see, we can be just as productive members of society. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that and for your kind words. Yeah, it's very nice to meet you. I think a lot about inclusive design and architecture and design spaces as well as I have I was able to hide and kind of disguise my disability for so long, and then there was just a turning point where I got the white cane, and suddenly the world opened up in ways that I had never expected before, and I started to see the experience the advantages of designing for disability and how it really does it ripples out in ways that are unexpected and often incredibly useful for people who are maybe are not disabled in that way, but they have suddenly a new way into the world. And yeah, keep going and I wish you all the best with your career as a designer. Yeah. And kudos to you for continuing on that because the world needs more of that. And I think moving from the place of I don't know. It's inclusive design that Roddenberry was talking about, and it's embedded in Star Trek and the principles and infinite diversity and infinite combinations means a lot. And as a root way of moving through the world, I think I'm not sure that I found a better one. Maybe the Golden Rule, but Roddenberry's up there with
Nicely
it.
said. Mark, thanks so much. Always a
Thanks,
pleasure to
Mark.
hear from you.
Thank you, John.
All right, take care. Hey,
Take care.
before we get to Brandon and Dr. Nani, look, we could carry on this conversation with Bruce for hours and hours and learn all kinds of interesting things. But there is partly a purpose here to having Bruce on, and that is to talk about something that Heather and I have both looked into. Heather, what is Boldly Going? And then we can kick it over to Bruce for a little more.
Well, I mean, I think that Boldly Going should be described by the creator of Boldly
All
Going
right.
is the best option. But I just want to say, if I can, really quickly, before we hand things over to Bruce, that what I've really loved is seeing Bruce's story kind of come to fruition. And when we interviewed you for Trektivism and we talked about the fact that you spent so much of your time kind of masking and hiding your disability, to, taking on a role such as Hammer and being the first, legally blind person to play a blind character just out there in the world. And now you are taking on the role of empowering other people, some with disabilities, to share their stories.
Mm.
And so I just think it's really beautiful to have, gone from a place of hiding to empowerment and now to, reaching out to empower others. So please tell us in your own words about Boldly Going.
Thank you. Well, Boldly Going is a documentary that will follow me. I'm going to also be directing it, and it will follow me as I attempt to paint my 1000th portrait. I'm currently sitting at about 750 portraits in my series, and so for the last 250, I want to document that process and what that will be like. It was a project that I started in April 1st, 2011, where I sat down with a friend and painted his portrait. And somewhere along the first 10 or so, I thought, well, I'm going to paint 1,000. And I'm almost there. And initially, I started painting portraits because this friend saw me on stage and afterwards saw me with a white cane and said, "What's going on with your eyes?" He had no idea. I'd fooled him for so long. So I sat down with him and painted his portrait to try to capture the way that I see. And I just kept at it and kept pursuing this kind of quicksilver notion of, okay, how do I translate into acrylic paint the way that I perceive the world, which is in very small fragments because I have extreme tunnel vision, and trying to wrestle with this kind of artistic goal of doing one that I was really satisfied with. And somewhere along the way, I finished 365 portraits in the first year, and I was just addicted to this pursuit of capturing the way that I see. But as a really wonderful side effect, I sat with like 365 people and heard their stories, and we talked about art and creativity and pursuing the creative life and what are the obstacles that you're faced with? What are your challenges? How are you getting through them? And I was just continuously inspired to paint the next portrait by the one that I had just sat with. And as I move towards completing 1,000 portraits, I'm really inspired to share those stories and to hopefully inspire more creatives out there who might feel like, oh, I could never do that, or I stopped drawing when I was 9 and I never picked it up again, or whatever, and all the sort of excuses, and hopefully bash through some of them and put some more creativity out there. And yeah, and underneath it all is this fuel of my love of Star Trek for sure. I was raised on it, and I think I memorized the Space, the Final Frontier monologue when I was 6. With all the Shatnerian pauses. Just love it. But yeah, boldly going. It was a phrase that I was getting kicked around for the last couple of years as I was immersed in Star Trek. And I'm like, wow, like, yeah, in my life, I feel like I'm challenging myself creatively when I take a bold step, when I make a bold choice, not something small. And the canvases started as 8 by 10 little portraits, and then my arm would seize up and they'd be all cramped up by the end of doing a portrait sitting, and they're small. So and then I would give the my glasses to my subject to hold the canvas about an inch away, and they can see the paint kind of rippling up, and they get this forced tunnel vision. Um, and in that very physical, visual experience, perspective is shifted, and it feels to me like yeah, a little bit of empathy can be built through telling some stories around this, and hopefully some inspiration too. So, Ballarat Entertainment out of Stratford, they produced The Captains and The Truth in the Stars. They approached me about a year ago to kind of put together a documentary, and we just launched a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo, and I think we're maybe it's a week until it closes. I can't remember the exact date. It's not long now,
Yeah.
before the campaign closes. And but they've got support from Accessible Media Inc. here in Canada, and they've got some funding, so the project's going to go ahead. Just we're wanting to do it bolder, always bolder.
Everybody, we've asked a lot of our audience tonight. Everybody, please go to Indiegogo, go to the Going Boldly campaign. We'll drop the link in here for you as well. And like anything, even if you can't donate, share it. Tell people about this because it is such a cool project. We did run the trailer at the beginning of this broadcast, but check that out again because it is fantastic. And I love the story that you're trying to tell with your art as well. It's fascinating. It's very humanistic, and like you said, it is very Star Trek. So nice to
Yeah.
see that implementation. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny look, being raised on Star Trek. I think it- I find it in surprising places. Let's just say that.
sure, sure.
Yeah, the
Excellent.
phrases.
Yeah. So, boldly going, check it out, Indiegogo. Just search Bruce's name or search the name of the project. You will find it, but we will put the link right there so it is easy to find and keep sharing it
Great.
long after the
Thank
show.
you.
Keep sharing it.
Thank
So
you.
check it out. Yes. And Heather says, yeah, Heather, tell us on air as well, please.
Well, I'm just plugging our Trektivism
Yes.
interview with Bruce because it was just a really lovely conversation, and we really went deep with the talking about art,
Mm,
and Bruce's humanistic approach to art and disability advocacy and everything else. It was a really special conversation, and I think that it
hmm
stands out from a lot of the other conversations you've been having, though I'm so glad that you have been everywhere. I told you Star Trek family has your back.
It's so
Um,
great. It really is. It's
yes.
yeah, it's
Excellent.
humbling.
Well,
Hmm.
let's meet some more of our Star Trek family. Let's bring in
Sure.
Brandon. How's it going tonight?
Hi, hey, it's going well. Thank you. Bruce, it's great to get a chance to talk to you. Heather, it's great to
And
see you
Brandon.
again. John, you can't get rid of me. You see me all the time. So,
No, it's always a pleasure. Yeah.
Bruce, I wanted to ask you, you played a character who appeared a little way in this story, wasn't in the pilot, was around for what feels like a very short time, was fantastic start to finish. And to clarify here, I'm referring, of course, to General Garkog, the frontman of the first Klingon pop band, or as the kids are
Yes.
calling it, K-pop. I think that's what that
Yes.
means.
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I'm not great with music. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, which by the way, I did absolutely love that appearance, and I believe my wife and I watched that part of that episode about
Yes.
13 times.
Winner. I
Um,
feel like a winner now.
yeah, it was phenomenal. Um, but in seriousness, in a show that is full of great characters and great exploration of those characters, your portrayal of Hemmer and the way that we got to know him still stands out. Just absolutely wonderful from start to finish. And it seems to me that it's somewhat rare for a character to die, but also have that death cap such a perfect arc and then be used so much to really feed back into that character's story. Um, Yet also have the audience completely wanting more of the character. And I'm kind of wondering, as the actor who got to portray that character, where where do you find yourself on that? Do you find yourself sort of feeling like, well, I am perfectly satisfied because that is the perfect bow on it? Or is it like, well, if there had been an opportunity, I mean, of course, I hope we see you in many, many, many more
Uh,
cameos, as many as possible.
thank
Um,
you.
but just sort of, I'm curious what that feels like, because
Mm.
so many deaths are like, meh, but this one and this character and his story.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very, very happy with how it ended because I knew before I really got the part, I think, uh, that he was going to go. I knew that was coming, and I was nervous that it was going to be a weak episode or that the death would be kind of meaningless. And it checked a lot of boxes for me of like, okay, he went cool. That was my big priority is like, it's got to go cool. I think he went cool. I was very happy with that.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah. But there were just so many surprises that came through. like when the series was launched, like my name was suddenly was in like opening credits, and I was really not expecting that because I was only in 4 episodes or whatever. So I didn't think I was like a poster character. I didn't think that I was going to be kind of that Hammer. Well, sorry, Hammer. I should disassociate myself from the actual character. I haven't gone that deep, man. I promise. Um, I'm not that kind of actor. But no, but I didn't. I really was so surprised that I was down there for the premiere in New York and that I was on the posters and the marketing, and it was like, wow, this Hammer was a bigger deal than I was anticipating. So it was all these like bonuses of like, oh my God, and he's doing. There was a campaign for Bring Him Back, and I'm like, wow, like I had no idea that it was going to be that much of a fan favorite as they had set it up, or really, I mean, they probably had machinations of how it was going to go. I was just blown away by it, um, and getting to go back in season 2 and do that extra episode was like the cherry on the top. It was like getting to go back to. Uh, Yeah, going to go back to summer camp for a few days and hang out with the cool kids and just like, yeah, there was new people around and I felt, yeah, it was just like I was riding high the whole time. Um, if there, if no Hammer ever appeared again, if it didn't happen ever again, it was such a satisfying ride, such a great run, and I will treasure it always. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't jump at the chance to do that again, um, from the prosthetics all the way through costume and wardrobe and long days and all of that. I would leap at the chance. Or you know what, a Garcog spinoff. I'm into that too.
I look forward to honestly both of those. I hope we get both of those.
Yeah, yeah. But thank you for your question. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
It's also like as a Trekkie, as a total like nerd, every day was just kid in a candy store. And I'm so proud of the show. Like watching season 2, I was so proud of every episode of that. And like I'm a part of that. And it had a ripple through what Uhura was going through. And also it's just good tracking. And I'm so looking forward to season 3.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Bring
Thank
it
you so
on.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Jessica, I got the message to turn her on again, so I did. I'm good for turning her on more than once in an evening. Um, so let's go to our last caller tonight. Hey, you leave with that, Brandon. That'll be the last thought in your head before you say goodnight. Let us welcome our last caller because we need somebody to class up the joint. And now we have Dr. Nani. Doctor, how's it going tonight?
Hi, John. Good to see you again.
Hi,
I was
likewise.
going through talking about Star Trek withdrawal, so I'm really glad Mission Log started up again. And Heather,
thank
so
you.
glad to actually get to be talking to you, not just typing, talking to you. And Bruce, honor to meet you.
Hello.
I'm
Nice to meet
Dr.
you.
Nani. I teach psychology. I'm a psychology professor at the University of Hawaii. I had the incredible fortunate luck of having Rod come in as a guest. He's come in every time, but the first time was back in 2019 when I was teaching my first psychology of Star Trek class. And he came in as guest speaker, and that was amazing. And since then, John has been showing up, and Heather has to get up early, so she can't show up. Same excuse I get from Norm.
I might be able to do it now that my clients are. Well, we'll talk. We'll chat.
Okay, we'll talk. It's a really fun class, but that's basically how I've gotten to know John. I showed up a year ago on Mission Log because he'd been coming to my class pretty regularly, and it felt like the reciprocal is what I call it thing to do, to show up and support him at his work, since he was showing up to support me at mine.
Yeah, I love it.
It was I love my psychology of Star Trek class, and I love Star Trek. And when Hammer died, I cried like a baby, and I still do every time I rewatch the episode because I find it very moving. And one of the other classes I teach is developmental psychology, and it has this chapter I absolutely despise called Death and Dying, which is a very important chapter for us to teach, though, because it has to do, we have a lot of pre-nursing students, and they have to understand, that chapter and what, goes into it and what's happening, not just for the person who's passing away, but for people around them. And I finally figured out, the positive thing that I got out of Hemmer's death, because, it was very painful in so many ways, but I can use that as an example when I'm in the death and dying chapter now, because the character is making the sacrifice. And a lot of times we talk about how when people are dying, they've actually come to terms with it, and it's all the people around them that are struggling. And that's, the last scene is a really wonderful example of that, with, Hemmer's totally fine and, goes into the cold and does the sacrifice, and, get to do the whole, the needs of the many thing also, which is also really cool. But then you see, everyone else around him grieving in different ways. And, and the fact that it propels Uhura to, kind of figure out what it is she wants to do. These are all just really amazing lessons. And I finally figured out how I can, use Hemmer's death as something positive, because, it broke my heart. I was not rewatching it for a little while, and I was blaming it on the Gorn, but really it was on the scene of you jumping off the ship I couldn't handle. So.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for, being just
Wow.
a wonderful example on so many things. I mean, and all the other callers brought up, all the work that you've been doing for being a symbol of diversity, and, getting to be the first blind actor playing a blind character for Star Trek, which I think is super cool too.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your thoughts on the sacrifice and certainly around grieving. Grief has touched my heart through most of my life, and I've used it when I lost my father when I was 29 years old. He died on my 29th birthday, and it took a really long time to see any sense to that at all. And eventually, I funneled it into a work for the stage, a solo show called This Is Cancer, where I play the living embodiment of the disease that took my father. And it's a very dark comedic take on cancer itself. I play the living embodiment, and at the end of the show, I bring an audience member on stage, and they beat the living tar out of me with a pool noodle. It's quite an extravagant thing, but every time that I would put on that suit and go out to play cancer, it was like my dad was in the room with me, and I'm like, okay, so this is the sense of my dad going. He was sick. He went peacefully. Like there was a lot of good things about his passing, but that I can through art share his message. He was a very funny man. He was basically like a subdued, maybe less hyped up Robin Williams, very funny guy. And so to get to share his story, share his take on life through the art, that's that's that light that I need when I'm thinking about the grief and the loss. And it's very difficult at times to find a sense or a purpose when we lose people. But certainly in the wrestling with that scene, and it's like, wow, like he's going to go through with this and the sacrifice. And as the actor was kind of putting myself in this character's head, it's like, wow, to actually do that um, for the people that you care about is an incredible example for those that get left behind, and that he has that effect on Uhura. I was like, okay, that's that beautiful button in the story in season 2 where you get to see her say goodbye, and she finds her purpose through that. And I only hope and pray that I can find purpose in all the grief that I'm sure will come. And yeah, embrace it. Thank you.
Nani, thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
calling in tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time, okay? Cheers. Bruce, thank you
Yes.
so much. Heather,
pleasure.
thank you so much. We get to do this again next week, of course.
Hooray!
Over and over and over for a while. We're back. Like
For
we're
a
back.
while.
You're
We
back.
have 5 episodes of Strange New World Season 2 to cover because we paused during the strike. So everybody who missed that, join us starting week after next. Actually, no, starting next week. We'll cover episodes 6 through 10, then head on to Season 3. And anybody who's not in the chat, you missed the fact that Heather pet a rhino on Saturday. So that's a
What?
story you can get later. I
What?
mean, come on. But
I'm
an
back for that
absolute
story.
right. And everybody, please make sure you support Going Boldly, or sorry, Boldly
Boldly
Going,
going.
on Indiegogo. We will post that link again.
You got it.
And before we sign off tonight, we want to take a moment to say goodbye to a friend and a fellow fan. Scott Palm was a longtime listener and contributor to Mission Log Live, and many of us were lucky enough to know him in person at conventions. And we featured him on this show alongside Chase Masterson, where he became a regular caller. Always insightful, always funny, always bringing his full self to the conversation. Scott lived Star Trek's human values in a way that was deeply personal and profoundly inspiring. His love for Trek fueled his advocacy work, using his voice to promote inclusion, representation, and dignity for people with disabilities. And in our own community, whether in a chat on Discord, he brought humor, heart, and a sharp mind that made us all better. So to our friend who is now gone, thank you for your courage, your laughter, your friendship. Godspeed, Scott, and may your memory live long and prosper.
Beautiful.
Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live by the incandescent Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcasts.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you would like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. We look forward to seeing you all next week, and the next week, and the next week, and the next week. We'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.